Welcome into the one and only Hog Talk podcast, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks, and you can hear us on all podcast platforms as well as 106.7 The Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. So please like and rate and review our podcast. And we're always coming to you live from the Cory Hindman Studios. I'm your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas. Alongside me is Jacob Davis from Arkansas Fight and Saturday Down South. And we're brought to you by Bet Online. And our partners at Bet Online continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info, from all the latest odds, news, sports development, including this year's basketball championship finals, NHL hockey conference finals, Major League Baseball, and the latest fighting news. Bet Online, where the game starts. And we will start you off from the Workman's Travel Center hotline and bring in our good buddy, ex-co-host, Kevin Bohannon, the baseball guru of Score. And I want to get this correct because I killed it last time when Kyle come on. It is Scorebook Live.
That's right. Not Scoreboard Live, Scorebook Live.
So, I do apologize for that. But, Kevin, welcome back. You've had a busy baseball season. So kind of up on everything that you've done since the show, since you left the show and what you got going on.
Man, y'all done got fancy on me. You got a scroll across the bottom. You got 3 cameras. You get to see Jacob's pretty face right there in the middle. Oh, it's been a fun spring and fun summer so far. We baseball hit the ground running, of course, mid-February with the Razorbacks. So on 2 times a week with Randy on Drive Time Sports. Our Around the Horn segment was sponsored by Wood Family Dealerships up in Batesville. Really appreciate them for stepping up. And it went really well. A lot of great positive feedback, and it really kind of took on a life of its own. And I'd always done Wednesday at 6 o'clock, try to get people on their way home. And what was the best way we could get people interested in baseball a little bit more? And so we moved to 4:30, and it really took off. You got a lot more interaction, a lot more callers. But it was funny because we know the roller coaster season that the Razorbacks had, and it went kind of ebb and flow, and some people just needed to vent. That's all they needed to do. So I was a part-time therapist for about 4 weeks there, and I told Randy, I said, I'm going to charge you double next time.
There you go.
High school baseball was a lot of fun with Scorebook Live. Nate Olson, of course, working really close with our buddy Kyle Sutherland. We had a lot of fun. Baseball in Arkansas is just getting better, and today there was a partnership announced between the Arkansas Prospects Baseball Academy and Performance Sports Academy that is led by Dustin Mosley, who was a 2000 Arkansas signee. He got drafted in the first round by the Angels, decided to take the money and run. But Dustin's a great guy. I'm going to enjoy working really closely with him, and, of course, Andy and Scott over at the Prospect. So it's going to allow players, youth all the way up to high school, to take their game to the next level, on and off the field. We're going to have some technology that is only rivaled by the University of Arkansas. And nobody else in the state can say that. Nobody else in the state can do what we're going to be doing, and we're really excited about that. And I say that because high school baseball is at its high as it's ever been. And, you and I, you guys and I talk about it offline and just every week about just people around the region are taking notice about what kids in Arkansas are doing. It was, they had the Gatorade Player of the Year, Grant over at Gwatney Chevrolet. They had the Harold Gwatney Player of the Year award. Gage Wood won that from Batesville. We had the Scorebook Live all-state teams and Scorebook Live Player of the Year, and then we had the Around the Horn super team or dream team, whatever it was. I think it was a super team, and have a Player of the Year. So there's more attention, and that was the goal starting out. And it's been 4 years, and that's the crazy thing about it is I told Randy, we had a little anniversary back during April, and I said, man, it's hard to believe it's been 4 years, and just look how far we've come. But look how much further we have to go. So it's like I tell my boys and I had this conversation with Caden Wallace the other day. I said, Cato, because we talked after they lost, and I said, you remember what I told you after you committed in October of 2017? I said, the work is just beginning, and the best is ahead of you. And that's what I told him the other night, because Caden Wallace is not coming back. If anybody has a hope and dream he's coming back, he's not. I can tell you right now, he's not. I said, the work is just beginning. And he said, Coach, I said, you left your mark on this university, and I want you to know that. And he said, I just want people to remember me for the person I am more than the player that I am. And that's just the kind of guy he is, and I don't expect anything less from him. Connor Nolan kind of said the same thing in a thing he posted on Twitter. These guys are Razorbacks through and through, and they're really excited about the next step in their life. But back to high school baseball, it's just we had a really good run with state tournaments in Benton again. Had a lot of good coverage, and the coaches and players' parents around the state are really thankful for the coverage that not only we're doing at Scorebook Live, but you guys are talking about it, and it's just raised awareness with baseball, softball, and that's what we need. These young men and women need to be recognized for their talents and their athletic ability. So I'm just glad to be a small part of it. And it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a fun last 3-4 months.
Well, and to take off, I mean, like year one, we had Kyle on last week or the week before, and just talking about what y'all have been able to do in your first year at Scorebook Live, you're rivaling with the top people in the nation when it comes to the Scorebook Live. When it comes to ratings and what y'all have done, and what it's because we've seen the success of the softball team carry over to the high school. Now, do you think the same thing's happening with the baseball team and the high school baseball, or is it kind of a different where it's been as popular as it ever been and just more people are wanting to play? What do you think is contributing to that?
I think there's always been a trickle-down effect, but I think you're just starting to see the other colleges in the state that are catching up to Arkansas a little bit. And they're not catching up in terms of talent or on the field. I mean, yeah, Euler beat them 17-7 back in 2019, I think it was. But there's just more emphasis on recruiting locally. UALR used to never recruit Central Arkansas because – Central Arkansas kids had a preconceived notion about what Euler was and didn't really want to go there. They recruited Nathan Lyons from Bentonville because he can come down from NWA and see what Euler was. But Coach Curry and his staff have really done a good job of just going after local talent. UCA, Coach Harlan over there, really does the same thing. We saw him last weekend when we were up in Northwest Arkansas, and we saw him again in Memphis this weekend. But it's not just the local and in-state colleges that are bordering Arkansas are coming in to look at these guys. Adam Revelette, who's the pitching coach up at St. Louis University, used to be at Alabama Birmingham. Saw him this past weekend. He's always calm looking. They like Arkansas kids. They like the way they play the game. And, a lot of the coaches around the state, Leighton Harden at Conway, Shane Fullerton at Harding Academy, Brian Fowler down at Taylor. That's 6A, 3A, and 1A right there. Their kids get after it. They love the game. They want to play the game. And coaches around the state are taking notice and outside the state.
Yeah, and just, with everybody focused on Arkansas, you're looking at all the good teams around the state, and me being able to kind of be a small part of what y'all have done this year with Scorebook Live. I've noticed, the D2s, the JUCOs, all, look at UCA in softball, Euler in baseball, Arkansas State, and then you drop down to Rich Mountain Community College and Southern Arkansas Tech, all these colleges that now they're starting, if they're not going to Arkansas, there's a plethora of colleges. And now with, we ain't even brought up your prospects, the team that you help coach, your summer league team. And just I see you all the time posting about kids getting to go to Ole Miss and how, all these schools other than Arkansas. So I think that's the biggest thing is the fans here really focus on Arkansas, but yet you're not seeing just the talent that's going all over across the state and in bordering states, like you said.
Yeah. COVID has caused this, and COVID has caused recruiting to change, and it's changed not for the good in terms of kids coming out of high school to be able to play early at Arkansas or an Ole Miss. The only way you're going to play at one of those is if you give up money to go play. Peyton Stovall is an example. Caden Wallace, Robert Moore. you're that upper echelon or you're a late bloomer and you come in and really take the world by storm. So those guys will play early. The other guys need to be playing for the name on the back of the chest as much as they're playing for the name on the front of the chest. And what that means is you don't need to be chasing the big names. Go where the money is and where you'll have a chance to play early. That's what we tell our kids all the time. Look, be realistic about your goals. Every time we get a kid, name 5 schools that you realistically want to have a shot to go play at. If we reach out to those schools and there's reciprocal interest, then you have a match. It's kind of like a dating game. It's really fun. And, to get these kids, they're all bright eyed and they're like, well, I want to go to, I'm interested in Arkansas, Vanderbilt, LSU, Ole Miss. And I'm like, okay, Vanderbilt, not much chance. That they've had one guy from Arkansas in the last, umpteen years. Joey Abraham from Little Rock Central went over there. How are your grades? Well, I've got a 2.8 where you're not getting into Vanderbilt. So scratch that off the list.
Exactly.
But what about Ole Miss? Well, Ole Miss is only going to take pitchers from Arkansas. The last 2 that have gone there, Cody Adcock went from Texarkana and Andy Pagnozzi went from Fayetteville. That's Caleb Hill from Watson Chapel, big lefty out of the 2018 class. He went there, but he didn't last. So they're not going to take position players. They didn't even offer Caden Wallace, and they didn't offer Brady Tiger. So congratulations to Ole Miss, by the way. Coach Bianco, Jack Doherty, who played for the Prospects and me for a couple of years, won their national title. So congratulations. But so it's about being objective with these kids. And that's the one thing that you don't see a lot these days is they don't get a lot of objective feedback. They get sunshine pumpers that just either want to make money off of them or they're going to make their program look better. And that's one thing that we've always, and I personally have taken pride in being objective. And that's even comparing the kids that I coach up against other kids in the nation. If somebody asked me to give an objective opinion about who could come in and start at Arkansas first, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the fact that I coach the kid and I know the kid, but if I know this other kid and I know his ability, I'm going to give you an honest answer on it. And I think that has helped the credibility more than anything. But they have to be honest about what they want to do. And there's so many different options now. UA Rich Mountain won their conference and, got to a regional. Southern Arkansas went to the D2 national championships in North Carolina. Henderson State was right there, and they got kids coming back next year. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, Rich Mountain's not that big. They haven't been a baseball program for that long, have they?
2 years. Yeah, this is only their second year.
So and you got National Park College or another JUCO.
They've been there a while. Yeah, National Park's been there, but they're getting more notoriety. And, Southern Arkansas Community College had their first team this year. North Ark, who you and I have talked about in the past, they still have some relevance. UA Fort Smith, they're down a little bit right now, but they're still Division II, and they're a really good Division II. Arkansas Tech, they got to go to play in Globe Life Field, Minute Maid Park the last 2 years. So those kids that are going to those schools are getting the experiences just like they are at the D1 level. So if anybody listens or watches this, just go to where you have a chance to play early.
And, 2 things, and we'll answer this question real quick. It says, do you believe the high schools are putting more priority on baseball than they did in the past? This is from Chuck Pendergrass, one of our Facebook listeners.
I absolutely do. And I talked about this with Brian Fowler from Taylor the other night. And I said, baseball coaches, in some places it's still like this, but it used to be a secondary sport, an off-season sport to where you just get a stipend. You get $1,500, $2,500, whatever it is, and you just go out there and coach. But now you've got real baseball guys that are going out there and really building programs, and that's what they really want to do. It's not just an off-season for their football guys and they can keep an eye on them at the same time. They really want to go out there, build the programs, and really take pride because the community really gets behind you. You saw it at Taylor, Harding Academy, even with Cersei there, Ouachita, where they had the 1A state tournament, and Nemo Vista, just the small schools. They really get behind these programs, and it just helps feed the system. And you see, even in the younger guys, the all-star teams, they want to be a Taylor Tiger when they grow up. They want to be a Nemo Vista Red Hawk or a Washita Warrior. They're really excited when they get to those schools that they get to wear the colors, they get to represent their school and their community. So absolutely, Chuck, I think there's more of an emphasis placed on it, and it's at a higher level too, because Arkansas sees what bordering states are doing, and they can't fall too far behind, or Arkansas will be just considered another state that produces a few kids a year.
Yeah, and Ozark, when I played, it was just a sport to do something because football and
Yeah.
basketball is over with. But,
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of put you on the spot or make you kind of toot your own horn, but you've seen it with what coverage has done. What contribute do you think the future holds with Scorebook Live? And the more attention these kids are starting to get, they might now want to, kids that really didn't even think about playing baseball, now they want to start playing now because they see the attention these kids are getting it, with 8U, 10U, 12U by the time they get to high school because of what y'all are doing. Maybe that make one or two kids want to play high school baseball now.
Ed, we've talked about this. This is kind of a look at me generation of, how can I get my name in lights? How can I get my name out there and get my name in the paper? And I was younger in 8th grade, and they did the little write-ups on junior high football on Thursday nights. And if you threw a touchdown pass, you get to see it, name in the paper. That was really cool. Well, now it's everywhere. It's amplified, magnified, just multiplied times 1,000. So I think kids, you see a lot more 2 and 3 sport athletes more than, Aiden Kenning got from Greenwood, the junior, got an offer from Hendricks to play football. He could pitch. He also could play basketball. So kids are at least giving it a shot, and you're getting some guys like Jerry Bruce here in Little Rock who are really, making baseball available to minorities and maybe underprivileged areas where they haven't gotten a chance to in the past. You got the RBI League that's kind of doing the same, and they're doing it all around the state in different corners of the state. So they're at least affording those kids the opportunity to get out there and possibly play ball for their high school.
Sorry, I turned my mic off.
There you go.
You're good, buddy.
Turn my mic on mute. My bad. What are some of the schools that are up and coming in the high school ranks that are going to produce some more athletes? Maybe some small schools like the 1A and 2As.
Yeah, we talked to, Viola. A lot of the ones in 1A are still going to be the ones that are always there. Taylor, of course, Washita's moving up to 2A. Woodlawn always produces some in 2A. Junction City, I think, is going to have some more coming up. Ashdown, they had a really good year this year. They went to the state finals, lost to Harding Academy. They're a 4A school in football, and they play 3A in baseball, and that's another topic for discussion. But they got some really good baseball players that go through there. Alex Kilback's left-handed pitcher. He's going to go to Henderson. Coach Alan Hall, I talked to him yesterday. He's really excited about them. Northeast Arkansas is really growing, and there's a lot of really good baseball being played up there. Walnut Ridge, Jason Belcher, who's a hometown kid, he's doing a really good job up there. Rector, Buffalo Island Central, those are a couple of smaller schools up there. It's mostly concentrated. The smaller schools are in the south. Parker's Chapel, Junction City, Woodlawn. Those schools are always going to have talent because they have a really good athletic program. But Mansfield had a good season this year. I think they went 23-4 before they lost. They're another 2A school. Murfreesboro's had a really good year the last 2 years with Alex Bailey. He's going to go play college baseball. So the answer is it's all around the state, and that's the great thing about it. It's not just concentrated in one area or the other, but, for the smaller schools, it's starting to branch out a little bit more, and you really saw that this year with Nemo Vista, Westside Gruish Ferry, Viola, those schools up there. Norfolk, the other one, the Party Crashers, Ethan Davis, who I think just took a job at Arkansas State Mountain Home, another junior college, Porter, that will get to play baseball. So Landon Johns for Norfolk hit 629 and had 85 stolen bases. Ooh. And somebody asked me, how in the world did he have 85 stolen bases? Is it even possible? I said, well, if you got on base 72 times, you can steal a base every time you get on. But, I took their word for it and put it on paper. So, yeah, they had a really good year. Set a school record for wins in the season with 17, and they ended up getting a 20.
Well, we'll kind of transition to the Arkansas baseball team. And just we talked on this show 4 weeks ago. We didn't expect them to be where they were at. We didn't expect them to get to Omaha. I ate my crow, and so there was a lot of people who said that until they made it to Omaha, and then it's like here we went to the firestorm again, and even people talking about let's fire Dave Van Horn, or I think that we need to change a choke job. They called it a choke job, which me and you and 80% of the people who know baseball, that was a game that you have, just like when Robert Moore made that play, Ole Miss dude tipped his bat and helmet at him. You have to tip your hat to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't beat you and then go 0-2 against OU. They ended up winning the whole thing. But from a baseball standpoint, watching that game, it was two Titans who wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that was a game that somebody had to lose.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, who did something wrong. Yes, Ole Miss got more base hits and they scored more runs, but you can't really say that Arkansas just did anything wrong to lose that game. And same with Ole Miss. If Arkansas would have won, you can't really say anything that Ole Miss. So kind of recap Omaha and do your best. I know we've lost a lot. We're waiting on the portal to kind of speculate on, what next year's team might look like.
So when they came in, I thought everybody was like, oh, we lost 5-0 to Stanford back early in the season. And I was like, man, that's two totally different teams right now. I wouldn't want to play Arkansas going into Omaha, and I don't think a lot of teams wanted to, and Stanford found that out early. The offensive barrage, putting up 17 runs, was something Dave Van Horn told us about at the beginning of the season and in the preseason. If we have to win some games 11-10, we'll do it. So at the time before they moved Stovall to the 2-hole, you had your top three guys combined for 45 home runs. Braden Webb had 15. Brady Slavens had 15, and Cato had 15. So that's a lot of thump. This team ended up with 106 home runs. That's 2 behind the record set by last year's team with 108. So a lot of the midseason naysayers, offense, get Nate Thompson out of here, blah, blah, blah. Look, Nate has his philosophy, and he got him to third in the nation. Do they need to tweak it a little bit? They did down the stretch. You saw a lot more hitting run. You saw a lot more hitting behind runners, situational hitting, and that's on Coach Van Horn and his staff. They got their hitters to do their job, and they did it. They did it well. But that set a tone. The only problem Arkansas had in the College World Series is they ran into a team that was hotter than them. And that happens.
Yeah.
It happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
It happens this year. That's baseball. And Ole Miss, you can argue up and down that they shouldn't have got into the NCAA tournament. Oh, they were 6th in their own conference and somebody won the Big Ten. I don't care. Get out of here with that crap. Ole Miss is a talented team. They wouldn't have been ranked number 1 in the nation if they weren't early in the season. So they got in and they went on a run. The only team to beat them was Arkansas. Connor Nolan made one bad pitch. He made one bad pitch, and that was to Kevin Graham, who's been the Razorback killer over the last 2 or 3 years. And he hit that ball, down the first base line, and Peyton Stovall didn't get it, and they scored a run off of it. Early in the game, Arkansas had their chances. They hit some Adam balls. They hit them right at them, and they just didn't have a chance to find the hole. Dylan DeLuca, I think you can say it about 4 different ways. Tip your hat to that young man. I saw him pitch against Arkansas back in May, and I said, gosh, I'm glad we don't have to see that guy again. Well, we did. And he did the exact same thing. You got to tip your hat to him. So the game they lost to Ole Miss, a little flat coming out. You saw some of the things. But for this team to come together at the end of the season like they did, 0-2 in Hoover, and making the run, they really showed what kind of team they were. And I talked about this earlier in the year with NIL and transfer portal and chemistry, how hard it is for teams to have chemistry because you don't have guys going through the program for 2 or 3 years and really coming together. You have a nucleus like you had this year with Slavens, Webb, Moore, Wallace, Battles, and you had those guys together, but then you plug in the pieces. So that's where they're at now. It's just kind of like Eric Musselman did with the basketball program this past year. You got Devo Davis and Jay Will coming back. They're not going to make the Elite Eight. There's no way in the world they can do it. Well, they did.
Yeah.
And they ran into a really good Duke team. They beat Gonzaga. They beat the number 1 team in the nation. So never count Dave Van Horn out. I do think he'll win a national title. I don't think he's anywhere close to retirement. They're going to have to put him in a grave before he leaves Arkansas. So I do think that there will be some changes. We haven't heard, there's always speculation. There was speculation today that Peyton Stovall was transferring. He's not going anywhere. Caden Wallace and Robert Moore are gone. Fans get used to that. They're gone. They've played their last game in Arkansas. I think Connor Nolan's gone. Zach Gregory could come back because I don't think he's going to get drafted. But would they have him back? Will they tell him, hey, maybe you need to get the transfer portal? Kind of like Hunter Wilson did going to Oral Roberts. Zach Gregory is good at getting on base. That's about it, in my opinion. Provides some energy. Pitching staff next year is going to be key. They're going to have to carry the team early, just like they did this year. And you didn't expect Connor Nolan to have the year he did. He got some trouble in the back half of the SEC schedule because teams had scouting reports on him. He gets into postseason, starts carving like he was the first of the season. It played into his, Connor Nolan is not a Blaine Knight. He's not an Isaiah Campbell, but he's a winner. And that's what you saw this year. So pitching staff next year, Hagen Smith is going to be a starter again, just like you saw in the last Ole Miss game, that we won. He has the ability to do it, and he's going to do it. They may move Jackson Wiggins back to the end of the bullpen. Who knows? They're going to figure that out. I would rather see him at 97 or 98 to 101 than 94 to 96. That's just me personally. So, what are they going to do with Brady Taggart? Did they move him up to the front of the pitching staff? I think they will. I think they'll move him up in the rotation if he stays healthy. I think he's a starter because he's got the stuff. He's got the Major League Baseball pro level stuff that scouts really salivate over. So that's who you want on the mound. The third guy could be Gage Wood. Be honest with you, I've seen him develop over the last 3 years. And if he maintains his command and control, I think he has good as chance of anybody. There's 20 guys coming in. Well, 21 if you count the Wegner kid from Creighton, the outfielder. There's 21 coming in. There's 12 pitchers right now. So they could overhaul the pitching staff too because they're going to have some guys leaving. Evan Taylor's gone. He showed enough this year. He's going to get drafted. Zeb Vermillion's gone. Zach Morse will probably be back. He's on Baseball America's top 500. So, if he doesn't go in the top 10, top 15 rounds, I think he'll come back next year. He's got, one more year to show that maybe he could be a starter. Maybe he's that reliever that they go to right away. He showed some grit later on in the year, especially coming after that start he had against Ole Miss where we lost the game in the College World Series. So that's the pitching staff. Now let's talk about defense and offense. This is the fun one. So Peyton Stovall, what are we going to do with him? What is the staff going to do with him? It depends on who makes it to campus. I think they could move him to second base. He's not going to play shortstop. Even though that's what he played in high school, that's not what he's going to play at Arkansas. So he got better at first base as the year went on, but he's no Robert Moore. Let's get used to that right now. There's not going to be another Gold Glove there unless he just has a phenomenal year. So Stovall could move there. I could see Harold Cole from San Jacinto Junior College coming in at shortstop. He's not on draft boards really high right now, so I don't see anything from scouts that I've talked to that he's going to get drafted high enough. Peyton Holt could play third. He could play second. He could play corner outfield. He's coming from Crowder, Greenwood native, played with Connor Nolan. He's a 2018 grad. Then you got the Webb kid from Eastern Oklahoma. I think he's a reserve depth guy. And then you got Four Killer from It's a really cool baseball name. Four killer. He's from Connor State, Porter.
I love Connor State. Yep.
Yeah, 5'11", 180. Infield, outfield, hit over 440, 5 home runs, not a lot of thump, but he had 60 RBIs. He knows what to do with the bat. So, they've got a few guys that are coming in, and when you find that emotional leader that Opitz was, yeah. Sorry, it's like a bird flying in front of me.
There you go.
They got a few guys that they can plug and play right there, right away, that have good experience and have been around for a little bit. Now, looking at the new guys that are coming in, I think we lose one, and I would say Mason Neville is that one right now. He shot up draft boards. He's a top 100 player on the MLB pipeline. I think he's 99th. He's the 6'3" outfielder out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Can really fly, really run, really hit, really fluid athlete. So I don't think he makes it to campus. Jason Jones was the top 10 player he was like number 5 or number 6 last year. He's dropped to like 35th right now. And on draft boards, he's anywhere from 150 to 200. Don't know the family situation. They might want him to take money and run. Who knows? But scouts I talked to, they want to see him develop the hit tool a little bit more. I have heard anything 85 or below, he handles really well and can hit it a country mile. Anything over that, he struggles with. So we all know that SEC pitchers throw harder than 85. They might, get him and see what we can do with it. It would be kind of like getting a Peyton Stovall. He needs to refine some things, though. I think he could play any of the corner infielder spot. So that would be a thump bat that you get in the lineup. Easton Swafford is a guy you can plug in the outfield. I think with Jace Borfin, I think he's back next year. And then Jacob Wagner has the other spot. So they'll get some – of course, we know they're going to go get some catchers out of the portal. They have to. They don't have anybody on campus right now outside of Max Solis Jr., who is not a catcher. He's going to be a DH outfielder if he even stays at Arkansas. I don't know. So they've got to get somebody. I know Max Gusetti out of Florida was a class of 2020 top 60 player. He's in the portal. West Virginia, Washington State, their starters were in there. So I don't know. I heard Mercer had a really good catcher this year, and I saw him play. Those are a few names that I would look out for that are in the portal that may end up on the hill.
So you didn't mention Peyton Paulette, the Saline County guy that's the pitcher. He had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone? Dang it. When was that? Come on.
Yeah, I actually saw Peyton a week and a half ago. We played at Baum and that weekend and got to see him down there. And he looked really good. Hadn't started throwing yet, but anywhere from the mid-second round and up, before that, I think he'll get picked. He's just got too good of stuff. So he can get in a major league program and rehab. Kind of like Cole Phillips. That's one I didn't mention also. Cole is out of Burn, Texas. Had Tommy John before the year, was up to 100, 101. Really good body. 6'3", 195. He could be a 2-year guy, just like I think Jason Jones could. So those two guys could go to Arkansas for 2 years. Phillips could rehab for 1, pitch for 1, get drafted. So talking to the parents and talking to Cole, they're going to go to Arkansas, but draft hasn't happened yet. So, but yeah, I'm sorry. I think Peyton Paulette is gone.
Well, man, hey, we've kept you on long enough, and I really appreciate your time. Always welcome here, Kevin. Really thank you for what you did when you were here with us at the Hawg Talk podcast, and best wishes for you on everything you got going on with our partners with the Buzz and Scorebook Live, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you, Kevin.
See you guys.
Well, we're going to come up against a break. When we come back, we will talk about Jalen Williams getting drafted to the Oklahoma City Thunder and some very big-time news when it comes to transfers. We will catch you right after the break.
942-5121.
And we welcome you back to another live episode of the Hawg Talk podcast. And we want to thank Kevin Bohannon of Scorebook Live for jumping on again, talking about the baseball season and everything they've been doing with the high school. But Jacob, we had some very interesting news when it come to Jalen Williams. We knew he would go second round somewhere, but we didn't know where he would go. And I'll tell you what, from a fan standpoint, I don't think there'd been any better team other than Memphis Grizzlies when it comes to proximity of where he landed with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you throw him in there with Chet Holmgren and another Jalen Williams. I mean, that's going to be a pretty decent squad that's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll finish last in the or close to last in the bottom quarter of the NBA. They have a lot of room to grow as a team. Obviously, they wanted to bolster depth, whether it be as stretch big men, because obviously Chet Holmgren can shoot the three and he can play D. He's gonna have to develop along the way. But obviously, you have Jalen there, who's just a physical guy, a guy that loves to rebound, a guy that will contest everything, and he can shoot the ball well, and he can stretch the floor too. So Oklahoma City's wanting to develop themselves and make themselves more of a complete team, and that's what the NBA is these days. If you don't have a stretch five or a stretch four that can hit mid-range to 3-point jumpers, you're lacking on a team.
Well, you looked in the draft, a lot of power forwards were going in this draft.
Yeah.
You see that there's kind of a change of, 1 year it's guard heavy. Now it's power forward heavy. And some scouts were talking to me and my good buddy Tyler Butler of Sports and Culture, and, was giving him some kind of info on Jalen. And when he was basically telling him he was the best defensive player in the draft. And I think that's what a lot of the reasons why his game and his stock really rose, because I know with all the scoring and stuff going on in the NBA right now, you really need those lockdown defenders. I mean, you look at what the Celtics were able to do, getting to the finals on a defensive team, and unfortunately they run out of gas against Golden State. But, I mean, that's huge when you can say with all that talent and all those big guys that you're considered one of the best, defensive players. And I really want to see how because he really utilized on taking charges. And I really want to see how that transitioned to the NBA game, really how he has to adjust and the biggest adjustments he has to when it comes to his scoring ability and his mid-range and outside shooting, because, you're going to be on defense and you're going to be out there on the perimeter a lot of times, not be forced down low most of the time. So I'm really happy for him. Fort Smith guy, I don't know if you got a chance to see his tattoo that he got, but man, it was just a full sleeve of that Fort Smith. So, I mean, that's really good to see these local kids getting. And for those who didn't see on our Facebook today, they're actually going to be playing some of their preseason games in the BOK Center in Tulsa. So, again, short drive from Fayetteville or Fort Smith to Tulsa to be able to go watch the preseason games play. So, I'm very pumped that he's getting to go to Oklahoma City, and hopefully he'll be a long-time veteran when it comes into his career.
And he always has seemed to me like a loyal guy. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he actually stays. And I didn't expect him to go to Oklahoma City. I was expecting him to maybe go lower, maybe in the late 30s to mid 40s pick. Not too low. But obviously, the guy gets picked in the top four of the second round, and obviously, I mean, he's got the stuff. And I thought that when he started stringing together double doubles and his mid range game started going and everything started to develop, he was a great big man passer. And Arkansas has had quite a few big men here recently that have really been able to pass the ball well. And Jalen Williams has been one of the best ones to do it. I mean, the guy can stand at the top of the key. He can be on the wing. He can be on the inside, pass it back out, and get you a wide open jumper for three. The guy he really sees the floor well. And I think that was one of the other things that scouts were saying from the NBA Combine is the guy's IQ. The guy knows he knows where to be on the floor, and that's a credit to Eric Musselman, because he makes these game plans that are just so detailed, and he makes you know your man. And he doesn't want you just to know his last name. He wants you to know his date of birth, his social security number, everything that you can imagine to know about a player that your opponent has. He's got it, and Jalen Williams knew. Sorry, I'm struggling tonight, but he really knew what his scouting reports were. I mean, obviously, they beat Gonzaga. And that's one thing that Chet Holmgren said about J. Will is 75% of our game plan against Santa Clara against the J Dub guy, the other Jalen Williams that was drafted at Santa Clara. He said 75% of our game plan was against him, but we didn't have anything for Jalen Williams, the J. Will. So yeah, the Eric Musselman's importance is a huge factor here for guys. And the last 3 years, Musselman has put a guy in the NBA, which is a testament to his coaching ability.
Well, that just shows where he's coached. That shows where he's been. You look at, like you said, the scouting report. When you've looked at those videos of practice, and that whole long whiteboard of just top to bottom is stuff that people wouldn't even think this guy likes to go right, or he'll 2-dribble shoot. And I think that's what helps. You talked about the 3 guys that have been drafted for Eric Musselman. They look at a coach like Musselman and they know that he's got them prepared for the NBA. You look at the game film that J. Will does and the preparedness, and he knows how to guard his guy, what to do. He's a very good facilitator. So, when it comes to these guys from Arkansas, they know that, there's just skill set and adjusting to the speed of the game and a different style is the only thing they're going to have to worry about with him, because they know getting coached under Eric Musselman, he's got everything else in the bag. He'll be able to pick up the scouting reports and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it's an appeal to not just the transfers, but it's an appeal for high school recruits, because not only do they know that, the only way I can get really good coaching is if I go to Kentucky. And that was the case for about 4 or 5 years. If you wanted to go pro, you went to Kentucky, because, that guy can put 7 guys in the first round or 7 guys in the whole draft. And that's the thing now is you're seeing more of these guys see Arkansas in a different light, because they were a floundering program there for more than 2 decades. And now they're seeing Arkansas as a place, hey, I can go there. He's going to put me in the NBA. He's going to prepare me for the NBA. And that's what Nick Smith wanted. That's what guys like Anthony Black and Jordan Walsh wanted, was not only just the notoriety and the popularity of the Arkansas basketball program, but Eric Musselman sells, man. And the guy is he's automatic and just he doesn't just love his players, but he knows what he's going to do and have his guys prepared. It's incredible.
Well, I think the biggest thing too is just the fact that he knows social media.
Yeah.
And anybody who comes to town, I don't care if it's New Kids on the Block, if it's NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, a rapper, Keenan and Kel.
Yeah.
He makes sure that he gets a picture with them, comes by the gym. It's just he's a marketing genius when it comes to getting people to come to the Arkansas, and always it's almost like an NFL mindset. He always wants to keep the attention on the basketball program, because no matter what if that one kid's scrolling through, oh my gosh, he took a picture with this rapper, he was there with Snoop Dogg, and all of a sudden now you start looking in on this program, and you see now with this recruiting class, and then we'll go ahead and just jump to the next year's recruiting class and who they've already got, a big time name that, everybody was on the fence and they thought he was coming to Arkansas. But just tell us a little bit about Blocker and his commitment to Arkansas for the 23 class.
Yeah, man, he is a really good player, and I would not be surprised if he's not the next 5-star, because the guy he is gonna surface up and go get on top of these recruiting rankings, because he is playing really good ball for I think it's the Bradville Elite team in the AAU circuit. The guy's just automatic. He sees the floor well. He's just your I don't want to say generic Musselman player, but he is, because the guy has a high IQ. He's not your kind of like Anthony Black, Nick Smith type of player, but a guy that has a lot of dog in him. A guy that wants to not only be able to score, but also facilitate and sees the floor really well. Get your guys open, runs the point really, really good. The guy averaged, I think, 10 points per game this past season over at Sunrise Academy in Kansas. When he left, I think it was Little Rock Christian. A lot of folks around the state, it kind of opened eyes thinking, oh man, are we going to lose this guy? Because he's going to become a national recruit. And yeah, he rose all the way up to 29th. And I do think he can end up being a top 15 once the new recruiting rankings come out.
Yeah, real quick. You know how if a football recruit goes to Alabama or an Ohio State or a Clemson, they somehow gain a star. How much do you think before that happens at Arkansas, where if you receive an Arkansas offer, you're like, oh my gosh, he must be really good. They're going to get that benefit that you see that schools in, and not saying that it matters, but it does to the kids. But you still got to develop the talent. But that would mean something huge for a program like Arkansas, that if you offer a kid, it kind of automatically boosts their rating up because you're interested in them.
Oh yeah, and we're already seeing that with especially this 2022 class with like Jordan Walsh, the guy he jumped up the recruiting rankings, and Anthony Black jumped up the recruiting rankings, and I think Arkansas is at a point now where if they see Eric Musselman offering a guy, that guy's got to be a baller, and you better believe it. And we're seeing that a lot with maybe not some low 4 stars, but some middle type of 4-star guys that are getting attention. You're like, man, all we want is 5 stars. We don't take 4 stars here anymore. and you know, the appeal of Moses Moody, and you're seeing him develop and going into the Golden State Warriors and playing big minutes. And it shows that Eric Musselman sees these guys and knows what he wants out of his players. And so, yeah, I think Arkansas is almost to that point. It's going to take a couple of years more to say, yeah, he's an automatic 5-star or an automatic high 4-star. But it may take 1 or 2 more years. But obviously, right now, Arkansas is on the right track as far as when you do offer a guy, maybe he jumps from a 3 to a 4. Maybe he jumps from a 4 to a 5. They're right there.
And now, you know, we'll finish off the podcast we'll switch over to the football side of things. And they picked up I woke up to a surprise steal, out of Oxford, Mississippi, and Alex Sanford. So first off, we got a question here for you, Jacob. I guess it's talking about 11 wins with revamped defense. You'll have to explain what this is referring to, and then we can.
Yeah. So I tweeted something earlier this evening. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas wins 11 games in football. And people are like, this dude's nuts. What is he drinking? Oh, it's off-season football. We're 68 days away from the season happening. This guy's crazy. So 11 wins, Matt. Arkansas, I can see it happen. They're either going to win 10 or 11 games this season. And it's either going to be coming down there. One loss is either going to be to Bama or Mississippi State. I just feel like Mississippi State's a really underrated team going into the season. They have their quarterback back. They're going to Mike Leach teams, they always have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to compete well. And I think that's going to be Arkansas's either first or only loss. And I think Arkansas has a chance to beat Alabama for the first time. All these games are at these big games are at home in the SEC. Obviously, you have Cincinnati coming in, but I don't think they're going to be at what they were last season. Obviously, you have Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss. You have 7 home games this season for the first time ever in Arkansas Razorback football history. Obviously, you had to go to BYU and play in Utah. Man, it's a beautiful place. But I feel like Arkansas is going to be able to pull out a win there. I feel like Arkansas, this could be the season. And we've seen what they were able to do in year 1. And then we saw what they were able to do in year 2. And when you win ball games, it cures everything, Porter. And right now, the confidence should be at an all-time high. They should feel like, yeah, we're dark horse college football playoff contenders, but they don't want to stop there. They want more. They don't want to just be complacent with 9 wins. They want more, and I feel like Arkansas definitely can move up a tier in the college football world. And I'm not saying they're going to shock the world, because Arkansas fans, a lot of them, they wouldn't be shocked if Arkansas was able to come out and do something in year 3, kind of like what they did in year 3 under Petrino.
Yeah, they're past the shock the world because they've gained that respect, and It's not like they're a bandian if they beat the only one is if they beat Alabama. Okay, that would be a shock the world type, because just for a grant, like even when A&M beat them. I mean, it doesn't happen in the regular season when it comes to teams beating Alabama. So that would be that one shock the world, because, they've got LSU, we got to see, A&M, and, it, my biggest question's always been, the wide receiver position and what's going to happen there. So I'm not ready to say, I'm not even ready to say 9 wins. I mean, I can't go 9, 10, 11 wins, because you got to have somebody to throw to. And yes, I understand that KJ's progressed, but he had Burks, that one comfortable guy, his go-to guy that he could throw an out pattern to, or he could throw a 50-50 ball up to and get that. But with this year, you don't know. I mean, there's a lot of potential. There is the potential for this to be a 9. I will say, if I want to go maximum, I'm going 9 wins. I think that would be a very good year. I don't see them just competing with Alabama. And, I don't know with who's coming back on the other squads, but I mean, I would say another 9-win season that gets you to the Citrus Bowl, that what bowl game lineup that gets you an Outback Bowl or Citrus Bowl. So I just don't, unless I see them play, I'm not going to count the Cincinnati game, because I think that's going to be a win. But from there on, I mean, South Carolina's not going to be a slouch, because they're going to be the underdog, and they're going to be looking to come in and not only make noise in the SEC, because everybody's talked down about the SEC West, but they're, with all that, with Spencer Rattler and his crew, and what, South Carolina's trying to get back on the same level as their counterparts there in South Carolina. So, I mean, they've got a lot of room to make up, but they've got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still see that as a win, but I'm just saying, you got to watch. There's going to be a lot of these toss-up games that, just like last year, that I think it's going to be similar to last year. You're going to see some of these games that one or two play, just like the Ole Miss game that Arkansas could have won, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah. And Matt did say with a revamped defense, I don't think this defense is going to be as revamped as a lot of people are saying. I think the defense is going to be further ahead than what the offense is, just because of the wide receivers position, like you said. But you look at the defensive line; they're going to have the ability to go 4-man on the front end, and then you've got 2 linebackers, maybe 3, that are bona fide starters. Not alone with just Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders, but you also have Pooh Paul, who I'm very high on, and then you have probably one of the best secondaries in the country with Jalen Catalon, and you add Dwight McLaughlin, you add Latavius Brini from Georgia, you add you have Miles Slusher back for his junior year. There is a lot of experience on this defense, and you also have the kid out of Ashdown, Ladarius Bishop, and then you have Risen's Malik Chavis. That's really good, and these guys are all cross training. You have Jaden Johnson. I mean, I could go on and on and on about this defensive back group that they could come out and be one of the. I mean, I thought they had a really good season last year on pass defense. They were top 6 in the conference. They could even be better this year if they can all come together. So I don't think this defense is far behind.
Staying healthy is a big thing, and you got to have you got to add. Well, you're talking about getting better. You got to have a pass rush. You got to be able to have somebody that can, not saying sack the quarterback, but at least get him out of the pocket to make him uncomfortable, because we all know, one turnover can mean the difference in a ball game. So you just have somebody who can disrupt the quarterback, disrupt the run game. That way they're having to go to the pass game a lot, and they can't get that going. So they just have to turn into a one-dimensional team, and then you just sit back and start picking things off. So it's very, very interesting. It's going to be a big year for Arkansas because of the unknowns, but it's a very important year, because now you've set the tone of you're at the 8-9 win game. You're at a new level of your program, and now it's to stay consistent at an 8-9. Now, if they went 8-4, that's okay. That's not a loss of a season, but you cannot come back next year and go 6-5 or
right.
You can't.
You can't go backwards.
You cannot go backwards. You can stay the same. Like I said, 9 wins, and even if you dip down to, because you are still playing the hardest schedule that in the country, so you still got to throw that in there. That even though they won 9 games last year, it's still possible this year. But if it is an 8-game win season, we can't just say the sky's falling in and automatically be like, well, he gets this big contract extension and gets all this money, and now now we're going to a 7-8. They got a lot of holes to fill. You still got to let these guys get settled in and get this team together. So I think this is going to be the most important year, other than his first year where he really set the tone and see where this defense, because you've got your coordinators back, so it's time to really see what this team's made. I think that's another layer to it. You got your coordinators back for another year. There's no excuses. You've got your system in place. You've got guys coming back. You didn't have a lot of transfers coming in on your offense trying to learn things. So I'm excited to see what this team does this fall.
Yeah. And one last thing. And I think Arkansas early on is going to be able to lean on their rushing attack. Not only do you have KJ Jefferson, but you have a really good rushing attack with not only Rocket Sanders and Dominique Johnson. You have AJ Green and Rashad Dabinian, who could come in and be really good for them. This rushing attack could be one of the best in the conference. And I know it's hard to say that because, I don't want to sound like a homer, but I also want to be optimistic because I think Arkansas, if they continue to progress, they can have some really good units, whether it's the pass defense or whether it's the run offense. I really think there's reason to be optimistic without sounding like a homer.
Yeah, and it's easy to do, but it's hard to do at the same time.
Yes,
we've talked about this on the other sports that we've covered, and it's hard when you get invested in the teams and you're invested in the players, and you've watched, especially now that they're getting a lot of more in-state kids. It's hard not to sit there and try to be a fan. It's a very thin line. It's more of a thin line because we don't work for a newspaper. We're not at a television station. We do this as a podcast. I mean, you do stuff for Arkansas Fight. Now you're doing stuff for Saturday Down South. So it is a thinner line than it used to be, but yet still it's almost like you're just waiting for them to win a national championship, just like any other Razorback fan.
Yeah.
So but then again, we still have to know that we are trying to kind of, we got to throw the precautions out there too. We have to kind of be realistic as well as being a fan. I guess that's where I kind of come into the equation is, I'm really kind of looking at this as not saying your prediction's not realistic. I'm just saying I'm coming out of a more of an idle standpoint of, I've got to see what they do against an Alabama again this year, Texas A&M with Jimbo running his mouth and bringing his. I mean, there's you got to look at LSU and Brian Kelly. I mean, this is becoming a stacked field. And we even got to the point where Texas and OU is coming into the conference. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. But if, again, like last year, Arkansas benefited going 9-3 because of all the coaching changes and all the programs that were on the rise. The only time, like I said, Georgia and Auburn was the only two teams that really just beat them down. Alabama is always going to be Alabama. So it's going to be, let's see if they can still take advantage of, Brian Kelly being at LSU, hoping that A&M just becomes A&M and they beat them. All these and keep rising up. It's there. And that's what we're going to get into within the next coming weeks. We're going to be talking about the football season. We're going to start breaking down more stuff when it comes to the defense positions and offense. And you notice they got the TBT shirt. It's that time. It's July. TBT is the summer tournament that has been going on since 2014, and Team Arkansas is in it yet once again, and they will be in the Omaha region. They'll play July 16th against a team out of St. Louis, DeGuy. So be looking forward to our coverage. We're going to have a special guest on here in the next couple of weeks when it comes to that. So, but again, Jacob, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
Man, I really appreciate you having another great show, man. You're doing great as a host. And man, these things are flying by. These things just fly by. It's a highlight of the week. And really, I just want to thank all the fans. Make sure you go and hit the subscribe button on our podcast, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, on Apple Pods. We really appreciate y'all and ask you to leave a review and a rating.
That's right.
At least report it.
YouTube channel too. We dropped our first video, our first live broadcast on YouTube. Now, I will put out a disclaimer, next week with 4th of July falling on a Monday, it might be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week when we go live, because we want, of course, our families, your families, to be able to enjoy the whole holiday. So it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll put it out there, for sure when we get the logistics down, but we will not be going live on 4th of July, of course, for the holidays. So we will not be able to talk to you since then. So I hope everybody has a safe 4th of July, travels, holidays, fireworks, all of that. But for me, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas, Jacob Davis of Arkansas Fighting Saturday Down South, this has been another episode of the Hawg Talk podcast. We will catch you next week.